Global food inflation is leading to frightening explosion in global hunger. We're currently facing the worst food crisis in modern history, and it seems to be getting worse with each passing month, Michael Snyder reports. I don't have to tell you, any of you, that food prices are a lot higher than they once were. The last time you went to the grocery store, you could see that for yourself. Sadly, this is happening all over the world, and the poorest countries are being hit the hardest. Meanwhile, global food supplies just continue to get tighter and tighter. As a result, global hunger is on the rise. If you doubt this, I would like for you to read an excerpt that comes directly from a joint statement by the heads of the Food and Agriculture Organization, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank Group, the World Food Programme, and the World Trade Organization. Globally, poverty and food insecurity are both on the rise after decades of development gains. Supply chain disruptions, climate change, the COVID pandemic, financial tightening through rising interest rates, and the war in Ukraine have caused an unprecedented shock to the global food system, with the most vulnerable hit the hardest. Food inflation remains high in the world, with dozens of countries experiencing double-digit inflation. According to WFP, 349 million people across 79 countries are acutely food insecure. The prevalence of undernourishment is also on the rise, following 3 years of deterioration. This situation is expected to worsen, with global food supplies projected to drop to a 3-year low in 2022-23. The need is especially dire in 24 countries that FAO and WFP have identified as hunger hotspots, of which 16 are in Africa. Please take a few moments and read the paragraph again. We really are facing an unprecedented shock for the global food system, and these global leaders really are telling us that the situation is expected to worsen. At this point, things are so bad that even CNN is admitting that we are currently experiencing the worst food crisis in modern history. Yet the world is still in the grips of the worst food crisis in modern history, as Russia's war in Ukraine shakes global agricultural systems, already grappling with the effects of extreme weather and the pandemic. Market conditions may have improved in recent months, but experts do not expect imminent relief. That means more pain for vulnerable communities already struggling with hunger. It also boosts the risk of starvation and famine in countries such as Somalia, which is contending with what the United Nations describes as a catastrophic food emergency. So what happens if some black swan events, quote unquote, come along in 2023 and make a global food crisis far worse than it already is? In some of the poorest countries on the planet, there are already vast numbers of people without enough food to eat. For example, in Somalia, almost half of the entire population is in need of immediate life-saving aid. Somalia is in the midst of the longest and most severe drought in its history, following 5 consecutive poor rainy seasons, which has devastated the country. Roughly 8.25 million people, nearly half the population, require immediate life-saving aid and protection. Sadly, the truth is that this is just the beginning. In my latest book, I explain exactly why conditions will inevitably get worse, a whole lot worse, no matter what our leaders do now. Here in the United States, nobody is in danger of starving to death at this stage, but prices just continue to escalate. In fact, the new inflation numbers that we got from the government on Tuesday were not good news at all. Republican lawmakers slammed President Biden after the latest inflation report, with one saying the president is living in an alternate reality, quote unquote. The congressional Republicans ripped into Biden on Tuesday after the latest inflation report that saw prices rise by 0.5% to a 6.4% rate in January. Just last week, Joe Biden took a victory lap on the economy, but today's report confirms he's living in an alternate reality than Americans watching prices get higher by the day. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer, Republican Minnesota, told Fox News Digital in an exclusive statement. Even though the Federal Reserve has aggressively hiked interest rates, inflation has not been tamed. In particular, food prices just continue to go up and up. Earlier today, Jackie Kotkowski posted some numbers on her Twitter account that show how dramatically prices in certain key categories have risen over the past year. Overall CPI plus 6.4% year to year. Fuel oil 27.7% up. Electricity 11.9% up. Groceries 11.3% up. Chicken at 10.5% up. Milk 11% up. Eggs 70.1% up. Bread 14.9% up. Potatoes plus 12.4%. Baby food plus 10%. Airline fares plus 25.6%. Real average hourly earnings minus 1.8%. When I go to the grocery stores now, there are some things that I simply will not buy unless they are on sale. Even the price of butter is going up. The last time I was in the grocery store, I spent nearly $30 just on butter. Can you believe that? Unfortunately, we all have to adapt to this new reality. The cost of living has become extremely oppressive, and at this point, close to 2/3 of the entire nation is living paycheck to paycheck. Rising prices have weakened customer spending power as inflation remains elevated and the Federal Reserve continues to tighten its monetary policies. Against the backdrop of recession risk and growing macroeconomic uncertainty, a higher number of Americans at all income levels are now living paycheck to paycheck. In a report by PYM&TS in collaboration with Lending Club, it was found that 64% of U.S. wage earners are currently living paycheck to paycheck. Even those that earn $100,000 or more per year are feeling the financial pinch as prices continue to climb and interest rates remain high. As I end this article, there are a couple of things that I think that it's imperative for all of us to understand. Number one, we were all warned that this crisis was coming. Number two, eventually this crisis is going to get a whole lot worse. We're only in the very early chapters of this nightmare, and much more pain is ahead. So I would urge you to act accordingly because the global food crisis is only going to intensify from this point forward. And this is by Michael Snyder. He says it's finally here. Michael's new book entitled End Times is now available in paperback and for Kindle on Amazon. About the author, my name is Michael. My brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, commissions earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing. And one way that you can really help is by sending copies of gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I have published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News. And the articles that I published on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media on Facebook and Twitter. And any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is on the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.